Before the first bell even rang at Northwood High, they had already decided who she was, a pushover, a target, a victim waiting to be written into their brutal high school history. They saw a young woman in a crocheted crop top and a tan Swede mini skirt, her arms full of textbooks, and they mistook her style for weakness, her youth for naivete. They had no idea that the new math teacher, Ms. Eva Valdez, was a storm contained in human skin, and that they were about to recklessly pull the cork. And before we dive into the story that shattered the silence of Northwood High's hallways, if you're new here, welcome to a channel where ordinary facts crack to reveal extraordinary truths. Subscribe and hit that bell, because the story you're about to hear is a testament to the fact that you never, ever know who someone truly is beneath the surface. The classroom was a relic of a bygone era, smelling of old paper, industrial cleaner, and the faint, metallic tang of anxiety. Sunlight streamed through the tall, grimy windows, illuminating dust motes dancing in the air like forgotten memories. For the students of Northwood High, room 243, advanced calculus, was just another box to check, another period to endure. But on this first day of the new semester, a shift was occurring. The usual low hum of gossip and class phone scrolling was replaced by a curious, appraising silence. They were watching her. Eva Valdez moved with an economy of motion that was both graceful and deliberate. She wasn't pacing nervously like most first-day teachers. She was arranging her desk, her back to the class, and even that simple act held a quiet confidence that seemed to unnerve the jocks slouched in the back row. They were the kings of this concrete castle, led by their crown prince, Jake, the Hammer Dalton. His varsity jacket, a garish blue and yellow monstrosity, was his royal robe, the wrestling letter on its chest a badge of his unassailable dominance. He'd earned it by pinning shoulders to mats and egos to the dirt. He ruled through fear, and his court, a trio of sycophants named Liam, Cody, and Marcus, echoed his every cruel laugh. Jake's eyes, cold and the color of a shallow sea, scanned Eva. He didn't see a teacher. He saw a girl who'd wandered off a college campus, a pretty thing playing dress-up. The crochet top revealed a toned midriff. The Swede skirt showed legs that were strong, not just slender. It was all wrong. Teachers were supposed to be frumpy, middle-aged, and easily intimidated. She was an anomaly, and Jake Dalton hated anomalies. They disrupted the natural order, his order. Think she's even old enough to grade our papers? He muttered to Liam, his voice a low rumble designed to carry. Liam snickered. Doubt it. Probably a student teacher. My cousin at State said the hot ones are always the easiest to break. The bell screamed, a shrill punctuation to the morning's tension. Eva turned, and her gaze swept the room. It wasn't a nervous glance, it was a survey. She saw the usual mix of faces, the eager beavers in the front, their notebooks already open, the art kids in the middle, trying to be invisible, and in the back, the predators. Her eyes lingered on Jake for a fraction of a second longer than the others. There was no fear there, no challenge. Just recognition. It was as if she were cataloging him. He didn't like it. Good morning, she said, her voice clear and calm, carrying effortlessly to the back of the room without needing to be raised. I'm Ms. Valdez. This is advanced calculus. For some of you, it will be a key that unlocks doors to futures you haven't even dreamed of yet. For others, her lips curved into a faint, almost imperceptible smile. It will be the most difficult 4 months of your life. It all depends on the choices you make. Starting today, she began calling roll, her voice a steady, melodic rhythm. The room was still tense, a held breath waiting to be released. When she called Jake Dalton, he didn't answer. He just stared, a slow, insolent smirk spreading across his face. Jake Dalton, she repeated, looking up directly at him. Present, he finally drawled, leaning back in his chair until it creaked in protest. Just admiring the view. We don't usually get teachers who dress for clubbing. A few nervous titters escaped from his crew. Eva's expression didn't change. She simply made a mark on her roster. Noted. I'd advise you to admire the whiteboard instead. The concepts on it will be on your first exam. It was a deflection, smooth as silk, but Jake took it as a win. She hadn't engaged. She'd sidestepped. In his world, that was weakness. The lesson began. Eva wrote an intricate equation on the board, her handwriting a model of precision. She explained the fundamental theorem of calculus with a passion that was both genuine and infectious for the front row students. But in the back, the muttering continued. Jake and his friends were an island of disruption, their whispered conversations and suppressed laughs a constant, low-grade static. Mr. Dalton, Eva said, without turning from the board. Is there something you'd like to share with the class about the relationship between derivatives and integrals? The room went dead quiet. You didn't call out Jake Dalton, not unless you wanted a world of trouble. Jake's smirk returned wider this time. Nah, just thinking your top is distracting. My mom crochets, makes doilies for old people. Never seen a doily you could wear, though. This time, the laughter from his friends was louder, less restrained. Eva finished writing, placed the marker down, and turned. Her face was a calm mask, but her eyes had darkened, the warm brown now holding flecks of something harder, like amber trapping ancient fury. See me after class, Jake, she said, her voice still even. Oh, detention already, he mocked, his chair slamming back onto all four legs with a crack. What are you gonna do? Make me solve extra problems? Big threat. It's not a threat, she said, her gaze unwavering. It's a consequence. They tend to follow choices. It's a mathematical certainty. The rest of the period passed in a strained truce. Jake simmered, his pride wounded. Being dismissed so calmly, so intellectually by this girl was a new and intolerable form of disrespect. The final bell was a starting pistol. Students scrambled to escape the charged atmosphere, but Jake stayed put, his friends loitering by the door, a ready audience. Eva stood by her desk, waiting. When the last of the other students had fled, she spoke. Your behavior was unacceptable, Jake. It's disruptive to your own education and to the learning environment of your classmates. It stops today. Jake stood up, his bulk seeming to fill the space between the desks. He swaggered towards her, his varsity jacket rustling. Or what? You'll give me a failing grade. My old man buys the school new bleachers every other year. My grades are the last thing you need to worry about. This isn't about grades, Eva said, her voice dropping a degree. It's about respect. Respect. Jake laughed, a harsh, ugly sound. You want respect? Maybe you should dress like a teacher. Not like you're trying to get a free drink at a bar. He was close to her now, invading her personal space, trying to use his size to intimidate her. He could smell a faint scent of vanilla and coffee on her. It was disarming. My attire is none of your concern, your education is. Sit down. Her command was sharp, final, but Jake was beyond listening. He was a pressure cooker of entitlement and rage, and the valve had just blown. You know what? I think you need to move. This is my classroom. My school? You're just visiting. So why don't you get out of my way? He reached out not to hit her, but to shove her aside, to physically move her from his path. His hand, thick-fingered and strong from years of grappling, didn't land on her arm or shoulder. In a move of deliberate, calculated humiliation, he grabbed the front of her delicate crochet top and yanked. The sound of the fine yarn tearing was shockingly loud in the quiet room. The top pulled open, and Eva stumbled back a step from the force, her hand flying instinctively to her chest to hold the fabric together. For a single, horrifying second, there was only the sound of her sharp intake of breath and the pounding of her own heart in her ears. The faces of the boys by the door were frozen in a mixture of shock and perverse excitement. And then something in the air changed. The vulnerability that should have been there vanished, replaced by an electric, deadly stillness. Eva's posture, which had been erect and professional,